For the past 7 years, I've been subjected to a near constant barrage of criticism regarding my safety from people who don't actually seem to understand safety at all. They only seem to understand what the corporate lawyers have advertised and brainwashed them into thinking what safety is. Safety is not a product. Safety is not something you can buy. Safety is not a thing. Safety is not a brand. Safety is not a feature. And whenever I try to tell them my reasoning for how I do the things I do, and the reason why I've never, ever once gotten hurt doing the things that I do for my projects, but I've gotten hurt many times walking down the street, walking down the steps, getting tripped by my cat. They don't seem to have any interest in listening, because to them, the mere fact that I do not wear things that are labeled safety on them, that automatically makes me unsafe in all circumstances almost. And that's complete bullshit, because safety is your level of understanding of the world and how you predict something will happen. Because if you can properly predict something will happen, if you can predict, oh, that ladder, if I go up that, I'm going to fall off because it's not on level ground, that's safe. But then if you incorrectly, that's the word, see that ladder and you think it's not going to fall over, that's unsafe because you don't understand what to look for. But for me, I actually take a lot of time. I worry a lot about safety. Because I'm the only one that knows what is safe for me. Not some lawyer, not some person putting safety equipment branding on some product. Not you, not anyone else. I am the person that has to look out for my ass. And when I try to explain that to people, they do not want to hear it. So let's go over it. Are gloves the embodiment of safety? No. They are a tool which can actually make things more dangerous or less dangerous depending on the circumstances. Oh wait, I want that. Hearing protection is not safety. Hearing protection is a tool which can increase danger or lessen danger depending on the circumstances, or do nothing. How about a welding hood? This is just a tool also. It can make things more dangerous or less dangerous because you shield your field of vision, but you also can protect your eyesight from ultraviolet rays. How about a shroud on a light bulb? Is that safety? No, it is not safety. It's just a tool which can help you make things more safe or less safe. And for the most part, it makes things more safe. But not always. How about a good old example of a shroud on a fan? Does it make things automatically less safe or more safe? No, it does not. If it does, then how on earth did people survive all those years with these types of fans? Well, because they didn't fucking put their fingers in there. And that's what safety is. Not stopping people from putting their fingers in there. Not even putting your fingers in there in the first place. You can't expect everyone to be a fucking idiot. They'll stick their fingers into a fan. And the mere fact that you cannot do that now makes fans not so dangerous and not so scary. And that you want a little bit of scariness to remind yourself, like, I need to respect that. I need to respect my wood stove. I need to respect my welder. I need to respect my ladder. People don't seem to have respect for their tools. And I don't mean like preserving them. I mean like respect for how they can fucking lay you out on the floor if you're not careful. And yeah, I just don't get it, because acting careful will trump all possible safety equipment. I don't care what you're doing. But if you wear safety equipment and act like a fucking idiot, you're going to get yourself hurt. It's not going to actually do anything. And if you don't have any safety equipment, but you still have to get a job done, there's actually many ways that you can still usually get the job done without getting hurt. Just if you're very careful and very aware of your surroundings. At least for normal things. It's funny. The thing that really pissed me off was I recently had somebody tell me that shit happens and you can't stop that. And it's just like, my fucking gods, how much of a useless victim mentality do you have to have to think that you have no control over your safety? Shit does not just happen unless you are a useless piece of garbage, okay? Shit does not happen to me because I do not let it happen. Because I work very slowly. I will agree. That's why I have to edit so much, because anytime I cut something, I cut it very slowly. Anytime I walk up and down a ladder, I do it really slowly. But that means that I never get hurt. Because everything that I do is deliberate. I know exactly what I'm going to do. That's why I can take a board out somewhere and move it around without knocking things over. That's why I can walk up and down a ladder with boards in my hands. That was another thing. So when they got upset that I was walking up and down a ladder with a board in a power drill, and they suggested putting a basket on my back to hold it. It's like, oh really? You want me to walk up a ladder with a power drill and a 6-foot 2x4 and a basket strapped to my back? Now how am I going to juggle getting that out when I get up? You have no idea what you're talking about. But because people have branded things safety, and because they've told you, like, safety first, this is safety, this is safety, this is safety, and this is safety, you think that you know what safety is, but you don't actually know what it is. And you would have your mind blown by how careful workers would have been 100 years ago in factories and such. Because I can guarantee you, if you sent a modern worker back there, they would get their head chopped off in an hour. Because they would expect, oh well, the lawyers and the bosses are going to be looking out for my safety. I don't have to look out for my safety. And that is how we breed a bunch of useless fucking imbeciles who just lay over anytime danger comes their way. Okay, I'm just ranting. One thing that got a lot of people really upset was my use of the chainsaw. The fact that I would leave my finger on the trigger and touch the chain and all that kind of stuff. And it's almost like putting the entire weight on the trigger won't turn it on. Isn't that weird? Because it's like it's connected. How does that work? How can that work? That you can put all the weight on the trigger. On the fucking trigger. Well, it's because there's a button. You can't press the trigger unless you press the power button. But people just did not want to hear that. They were still like, well, you still got your finger on the trigger. You're still going to cut your head off with it. Whoops. And it just shows the absurdity of those people. When I tell them that I'm actually not pressing the only power button, and I actually have my hand off of the power switch, and when that's not fucking pressed, you can't turn it on. You see? But they just didn't want to hear it. Because to them, putting your finger on the trigger always makes it dangerous. Doesn't even matter if it's plugged in. Doesn't even matter any of that stuff. And so I asked them, like, okay, so if you're working on a chainsaw, should you remove the spark plug? And they're like, yes, you should remove the spark plug, because it could blow up in your face or whatever. I don't know what they said. And it's like, oh, come on. When you're working on an engine, okay, that's almost a little dangerous. You don't have to remove the spark plug to work on an engine, because it's only going to work when you turn it over. And so they just kind of proved their unreasonableness. I'm going to let that heat up a little more. But people don't seem to understand the world around them. They see the trigger, and they see the hand on the trigger. And also, you know what? Let's get something that doesn't have a safety on it. Let's talk about circular saws. Now this does not have a safety button next to the trigger, and I can wield it around without pressing the trigger. Because, I don't know about you guys, but maybe you have like your fingers are all moving around, and like you just randomly press buttons. whenever you tell your mind not to, or something, or you just forget. But you know what? When I have my finger on a trigger to a power tool, and I don't want to press it, guess what I do? I don't press it. And I don't put my hand in a position where I would press it without me wanting. So I can move it around. I can do all this kind of stuff. And it's not pressed. Because I don't tell my finger to press it. It's not that hard to do, actually. And the fact that you think that it's just a given that when you put your finger on the trigger that it's going to press it, you aren't taking the responsibility. Now, I definitely agree with trigger discipline, and I do practice it. I don't like putting my finger on the trigger. But I know for a fact that if I did, I could hold it without chopping my head off somehow by accidentally holding the trigger. I don't understand how people, they don't take responsibility for themselves, and they don't realize, they don't say to themselves, I can hold that without pressing the trigger. They just automatically assume that they are going to be complacent or whatever. They're just gonna press the button. Now, with full awareness, I'll be able to walk up that ladder with this in my hand and be completely safe, because I have complete awareness of what I have in my hand. Notice how I understood that I had something dangerous in my hand, and I had to be very careful where I pointed it, and so I was. And I had to be very careful because I knew if I fell, I wouldn't fall. So I was. And it didn't result in me getting hurt. I don't know if that really proves anything, but it's an example of how being aware of your surroundings makes you safe. And items or procedures don't always make you safe. And you shouldn't do something just because it's in the rule book. You shouldn't do something just because it has the word safety on it. You should do something because you reasonably think that it's a good idea. And that's what I do. Put this little clamp onto here while it is plugged in, because we could, like that. But will it go? No, it will not. And yet people were going on and on and on about, oh, how you have your finger on the trigger, how it's just going to be the end of the world. Well, even when I told you about that switch, you still acted like it was the end of the world. So please, stop being so unreasonable. Oh wow, you can't even do that one. Oh wow, so you can't even push in the safety trigger whenever you're holding this down. So, yet again, another thing of safety. So, one more thing against you guys. So maybe it's actually safer to hold the trigger down, because then you can't press the safety on accident. So one more thing against you guys. I mean, like, seriously. Seriously. If you say something is not safe, and then you're told, well, actually it is pretty safe, and then you still say, oh no, it's not safe. You're just being a fucking idiot. Here's one that I've gotten a lot. If you're my employee, I would fire you on the spot. And it's like, really now? Because you assume just because I do something a certain way where I define the rules means that I would do it that way when you define the rules and pay me? Because you see, you're not actually paying me right now. And so you don't get to tell me what to do, but if you were paying me, you would. So does that mean that you wouldn't do safety that your employer would tell you? Because obviously you think that if you don't do it at home, then you wouldn't do it at work. That is like I don't care if you want to wear 3 pairs of goggles. If the pay is enough, sure, I'll do it. It doesn't make me safer. It actually makes things more dangerous, but whatever. I don't mind putting myself in the line of danger just to make you feel that I'm safer. If you pay me a bunch of money. See, that's the whole thing. If I'm not getting paid, I'm going to do real safety. I'm going to judge things on a case-by-case basis, and I'm going to keep my mind aware of everything, and I'm not going to get hurt. And I'm not going to burden myself with all these like harnesses and helmets and face shields and all that kind of stuff. It's just so dumb. One odd thing that I notice from people is that one of the most common responses that I keep getting is that whenever I have my counter argument to what someone's saying, then they're like, well, we're just criticizing you. It's like, you're saying that like it's a good thing. Criticizing is not helpful. Like whenever the people tell me I'm fat or skinny or whatever. It's funny, one time I had somebody like, man, you're fucking fat. And then a different video, a different account, right next to it, man, you're fucking skinny, you should eat something. It's like, you people are so, like, if I listened to you, I would be going insane. And the mere fact that you honor me by bestowing your criticism onto me does not mean I have to respect your criticism. And it does not mean that your criticism is welcome. Because like, there's a lot of things that criticism is not welcome on. Like, for instance, my bodily features. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been told that my hands look like a corpse's hands. And then I'm like, well, what's that supposed to mean? And they're like, well, I'm just criticizing. It's like, people think that criticism automatically means that it's helpful. And no, it's not. Like a lot of the safety complainers, they're just like, you're going to get yourself killed on that ladder. You're so unsafe. And so I ask them, like, what do you mean? And then they never respond, or they're like, I don't know, I shouldn't have to explain myself. You should know what I'm talking about. It's like, you're not winning anybody over. You're just an idiot. And then I have so many people, like, they're upset, like, I've seen your comments, you're so fucking rude, you don't take people's criticism, so I'm gonna be rude to you too. It's like, okay, you guys are literally fucking cancer. Wow. It's just like, that's the main downside to YouTube. It's weird though, because the YouTube comments used to actually be pretty good, but now they're just a swirling bath of vitriol and a bunch of morons that comment once or twice and then never come back because YouTube doesn't like recommend the videos to them. I don't know. I've started to ignore the comments, and I think I'm pretty much to the point now where I'm probably going to stop reading them because they're having less and less good information in the comments. And more, they're just a bunch of morons, not saying anything. Well, that's pretty much that rant. You guys are fucking cancer, the ones that comment. But the majority of you, they're probably nice. I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I know I'll probably hear about it in the comment section. See ya!